Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the steps that we take each and every year to financially reset. So if that is of interest to you, then please keep watching. So the first thing that we do, not because we really care to, but kind of by force, is we calculate our net worth. So to get your net worth, you need to add up all of your assets and then add up all of your liabilities. You will then subtract your liabilities from your assets, and that will give you your total net worth. So we do this for a specific reason, not really because we are really that interested in learning about or kind of checking our net worth. We literally never do it throughout the year. And it is very telling to see, what our car value is. Traditionally, I would consider it to be a liability. I would consider vehicles to be liabilities, but because of the market that we're in right now, and because of the type of vehicle that we have and it being new and us having put so much down on it when we purchased it, we do have a decent amount of equity in our car. That's just one example, but it is interesting to see what our car value is and what our home value is, and how much we have left on our mortgage and how much we have left on this and on that. So it is interesting to actually sit down and calculate our net worth, specifically when it comes to checking how much we have in cash money or for our retirement. So seeing how much we have in our joint brokerage after a new year, or seeing how the value of our Roth IRA accounts and all of that. It is very much interesting, and something that if you're not going to do it on a regular basis, like monthly or, biannually or whatever, at least doing it on an annual basis, I feel like will give you an accurate depiction of what the last 12 months has been. Because in my experience, and with the way, our net worth does technically increase from month to month, but there are some months where it doesn't really. So seeing it from after 12 months or after 1 year just seems to be way more enlightening and way more helpful. And also just spreading it out, I think, helps us, so we're not essentially obsessing over money. The next thing that we do is we check our credit score. So similarly, we never check our credit score ever. It does not matter to us in the grand scheme of things. Now, we do have high credit scores, so there's that, but they have remained high. I can't think of a time where our credit scores have even been under 700, I don't think. I feel like they've always been relatively high. So we don't have to obsess over them. We don't obviously use credit a whole ton anyway, but seeing how it changes from 1 year to the next, or from, the beginning of the year until the end of the year, is super helpful. So we do check our credit scores once every year, and obviously at the end of the year or the very top of that new year. The next thing that we do is we have a budget meeting, and I host or hold this budget meeting with my husband. A part of it is to not only talk about our spending and saving habits from the year, but also to talk about our assets and our liabilities, our net worth, our credit scores, but also to talk about what we want to accomplish in the new year, how much income we think we're going to be playing with or working with in the new year, what our annual budget is going to look like, what we want our money to look like, how much money we want to allocate for groceries and food and travel and, all of that stuff in the next year. So we sit down and we walk through all of that. And also we do that because it's important when we talk about the next step, which let's talk about that now. The next thing that we do is we meet with our financial advisor. Now, we do employ a financial advisor. Hello, if you're watching this. Recently found out he stumbled across my channel, so he knows I have a YouTube, which is great because I wasn't gonna tell him because I don't really tell anybody, but now he knows, and I have invited him to come chat with us, and me go to him and we possibly do a video or something together. So that's exciting, and I hope that can happen. But we do meet with our financial advisor, like I said, and he actually manages our accounts and does our investing for us on a monthly basis. Not all of our investing, obviously, but that additional investing that you typically hear us talking about. He helps us with all of that. So we meet with him, we talk about the year that we're having, because we normally meet with him at the end of December. So we talk about the year We talk about the market, we get our questions answered, we talk about all of that. And then we also talk about our goals for the next year, which is super important because we like our additional investing to be automatically deducted from our checking account. And so just getting all of that in writing and, you know, telling him how much for this, how much for the joint brokerage, and getting advice from him on what we should do with our money is really, really helpful. So that is the next thing that we do. This is in order, by the way, if I haven't mentioned that. So following the meeting with my husband and our advisor, that's when I feel like we can set our annual budget. Now, I've already done a 2023 reset video where I share our entire annual budget. So check out that if you're interested, but we can't really put that budget in place until I have had those conversations with them, because that's when we're doing, you know, brainstorming, and it's just kind of fluid at that point. But then after those meetings, that's when we can really solidify that annual budget and, you know, go forth and conquer. Of course, an annual budget is really just a projection, just like a monthly budget. We cannot predict, unfortunately, we cannot predict what is going to happen in our lives, how our lives are going to go. We can't predict layoffs sometimes, and job losses and job changes and raises, pay raises, you know, even some of the positive things we cannot predict. So we don't really know factually what our 2023 is going to look like, but it does help us to give an overall depiction, to get an overall depiction of what that year is going to look like. I do want to touch on something that I think I forgot to touch on in that 2023 reset video, which is that our gross income is substantially larger than the amount that we are trying to force ourselves to live off of. We are trying to force ourselves to live off of about $6,500 per month, which is about $78,000 per year. Being technically a family of 3, but only 2 humans and 1 dog, I don't see a time where it would be acceptable, even with inflation, for us to be spending more than nearly $80,000 in any given year. So if you saw that budget, then you know that while our budget for the month that we're trying to force ourselves to live off of is $6,500, really to pay our bills and all of that, we could probably get away with $3,000 to $3,500. We could pay all of our bills and eat for about $3,500 or so per month. Well, of that $6,500, we want to invest additionally $2,000, and then the rest of it is kind of to be played with, meaning we could choose to save some of it, we can invest more of it, we can put some of it towards debt, we can kind of use that at our discretion. And I would say that's probably, you know, like $1,000 or so. You know, I would say that's about that amount that we play with. And by play with, I also mean, though, we do have to use that for things that aren't actually bills, but that we have to pay for, like date nights. We don't want to skip out on those. So that date nights would fall in that category, or just other little things like parking or a little bit of traveling here and there, day trips, those types of things, giving for birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that, gifts that we exchange amongst ourselves, which isn't a whole lot, clothes, shoes, that's where all of that money goes. So while I would like to think that we live quite frugally, we definitely don't live as frugally as we could, and we have no intentions to. But I also don't think that blowing through that money just on anything and everything would be helpful. So we just try to strategize where we would like our money to go. So the next thing that we do is we set up or adjust our auto withdrawals. So we have a lot of things happening automatically. Like I said, our financial advisor deducts money automatically that we invest, so that comes out automatically. We also have automatic deductions for our bills. We have automatic deductions for our other investing that we do, like through Stash. So there's a lot of auto stuff going on around here, but I just like to set it and forget it. I feel like my job is to make sure that I have a buffer in our account in case there is any mishap, and to make sure that I'm steadily checking in on our accounts to make sure no funny business has taken place. But I could never take away auto drafts because they make life so much easier. If I were left to go in and manually pay bills or physically pay bills or physically invest or save or do all those things, I don't think that they would get done. Plus it just removes so much stress just not even having to think about it. So we set that up before we go into the new year, so that we don't have to worry about anything. It all comes out automatically. In fact, I don't know that we even use our debit card at all outside of auto drafts, meaning if we do any spending, we put it on a credit card and then we pay it off. And I go in physically to manually to pay off the credit card. But otherwise, our checking account just like, it's its own separate entity, and it just runs like a well-oiled machine. The next thing that we do, which is kind of what we're still doing right now, is reviewing subscriptions. If we have not used a subscription in the past year, then it for certain is not something that we need. Be it a gym membership, be it Netflix, Hulu, something that's being delivered to our house or something like that. If we have not used it in a year, it for sure needs to be stopped. The subscription needs to end. We got to get rid of it. But otherwise, we also look at if we use the subscriptions or memberships in the past few months. Like right now, we think having Sling TV is something that we might use in the future, but the fact of the matter is we almost never use it. So we might need to cancel that. We just had that conversation today. We haven't used it in months and we don't have any real use for it. So it makes sense to maybe get rid of that. We don't have to then save that money. We can use it for another subscription that we might want, like Peacock or something else. It's not necessarily that we are trying to save and penny pinch when it comes to canceling subscriptions. It's just thinking about, well, is there something else that we want to try? Some other better use of that money? Another way that we can entertain ourselves at home? Maybe we can get our dog a subscription box. We've been thinking about that. So we can cancel Sling TV and get that. Something like that. It's not that we are out to save as much money as we can, but we definitely just don't want to be wasteful in buying stuff and paying for stuff that we don't need or we don't use. The next thing that we try to do is come up with some trips and some events that we might want to get into. We recently created a 2023 bucket list, which includes, like hiking, going on a hike, some free types of things, or things that might be relatively inexpensive, things that we may just have to pay gas for or will be relatively cheap. But we try to think about what those things are so that when we're thinking about that discretionary income that we have each month, we can make sure that whatever we want to do from our bucket list, because we still want to have fun, we can actually afford those things. I just feel like the more planned out we are when it comes to those discretionary types of activities and those vocational activities, the better we are able to stay on budget. Like recently, we talked about how much money we want to spend on groceries per week. We talked about how much money we are willing to spend eating out, how much money we would like to spend on this or that or whatever the case is. And that just helps guide us throughout the month so we're not blowing through our money, which is important to us. Again, we're not over here trying to pinch every penny, save every dime, but we don't want to consistently be spending way more money than what we're making, because that's going to put us in financial ruin. So we just like to try to just think about what's coming up. We have a family reunion coming up. So those normally don't cost, it's in my hometown. So those types of things normally won't cost us a whole ton of money, but these are things that we do need to be mindful of. Additionally, birthdays, other people's birthdays, our birthdays, other wedding anniversaries. Some people renew their vows after a certain amount of years. So we just try to kind of map out what we predict is going to happen, because that just helps guide our decision making when it comes to being good stewards of our money. Another thing we do, which is pretty similar to that, is we try to account for those bills that are not monthly, like our Walmart Plus subscription, our Sirius XM radio subscription, our car insurance. We pay that every 6 months. We try to map out what those are going to look like and what those are going to be so we can prepare for them. Again, the better prepared we are, the better life runs. We don't have to be surprised by our, $900 car insurance, not bill. They call it some premium that we get as a bill. We won't be surprised by that when it happens in June, because we will already have been preparing for that and saving for that. Now, we're not really huge on sinking funds. So this year we have been more proactive in trying to, this upcoming year, you'll see in our budget, we are trying to be more proactive with saving towards sinking funds. But most years we are not. We just try to be mindful of when those expenses are going to be, and to make sure that we're incorporating those in our annual budget. I love to reflect on the annual budget before I finalize that monthly budget. Let's say let's say we're talking about August, and I already have August mapped out as part of our annual budget. Well, when July gets here, end of July, I can start referencing that August budget to see, okay, this birthday is in August, this subscription is due in August, this is happening in August. That's why just trying to map out and plan out all the activities and events and things like that is helpful, because whenever that time actually does come around, we'll be prepared for it and it won't be a shock for us. And I don't know if everyone else's lives are like this, everyone else's life is like this, but I feel like our lives are kind of the same and on repeat each year. Like, I feel like the same things happen each year. Each year, my family reunion is at the end of July. Each year in January, my friend is probably gonna wanna take a birthday trip, as we've done for her for as long as I can remember. Each year, I'm gonna wanna see Lil Wayne in concert. Each year, my friend's gonna have a birthday in February. We are potentially gonna travel there to celebrate with her and her family. Each year, Christmas is on the same day each year. Our lives are it kind of repeats itself year after year. So that's also helpful too. But I feel like that, and I feel like because of which it helps to guide our decision making when it comes to money. Now, the last thing that we do is we just try to look for ways to save and cut back. Now, I'm not talking about just reviewing our subscriptions or anything like that, but just trying to figure out, okay, well, this is how much money we spent in this year on groceries. We might consider Aldi for at least some things, in the new year. Stuff like that. Just trying to figure out, are there really ways where we can save or cut back that are realistic? First of all, I like Aldi, but only for running in there for a few things. The whole bags and all of that, and having to bring your own bags and whatnot is just a little annoying for me. The whole process is not fun for me. Whenever we're doing a big shop, which we normally do once a week, like a bigger shop. So it's not really for me, but I see the value in going there for certain things. Now, that's just an example, but that's what we like to do. Okay, we've gotten this budget together. We've met with our financial advisor. We've had a budget meeting. We've talked about our net worth, our credit score, all of that. Is there a way that we can actually save or cut back in the new year? Are there ways that we can save and cut back to actually help us to achieve our goals faster? And of course, these things do need to be realistic. I am not willing to, share toothbrushes or reuse mouthwashes. When I was younger. Is the word cheapskate? I think the word is cheapskate, but people pronounce it improperly, or maybe I just pronounce it improperly. But I don't know if y'all remember the Cheapskates TV show or whatever, but I remember this couple some lady would try to save electricity, and I think she would do some weird stuff. All I can say is she would do some weird, strange things. I think she would cook food in the dishwasher while the dishwasher was running to save electricity. Some kind of food she would heat up in the dishwasher. And I remember this couple would put the mouthwash in their mouth and swish it around or whatever, and then they would spit it back in the container, and then they would reuse it, or they use the same toothbrush to cut back. I mean, it was super bizarre, but I'm not doing that, nor am I doing anything close to that just to save money right now in this phase of our lives. So that being said, we do try to look for ways that we can cut back. We're not really in a phase of increasing our income specifically, so our only real shot at life and to save more or invest more or be better with our money is looking for ways to decrease, because the fact of the matter is we do, I think, sometimes live in abundance when it comes to certain things, which is okay on one hand, but on the other hand, is it really okay to be spending, like $150 at a restaurant multiple times per month? Probably not. I can't say specifically that has been the case for us, but we definitely love a restaurant visit and that type of thing. So we just try to review revise, adjust, modify, do whatever we need to do to set ourselves up to actually meet our financial goals. Okay guys, so that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you do in the comment section to reset for a new year. If you do anything, if there's something that we should try or something like that, definitely leave that down below in the comment section. Otherwise, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.